Nick Nappo is a digital marketer by day and an avid performer by night. He's been part of the Elmwood family now for almost 2 years, and he's pleased as punch to share his story with you. Welcome to the porch, Nick Nappo.
The only thing more awkward than asking your coworkers to watch you strip naked on stage is actually locking eyes with them moments before you do it. Okay, so early last summer I found out that a community theater near me was putting on my all-time favorite musical, David Yazbek and the late great Terrence McNally's The Full Monty. I first saw the show when I was 16 at a summer stock theater up in the Catskills, and you know, growing up, musical theater to me had always existed within a particular realm. You know, like so many of us, I was raised on the classics. Andrew Lloyd Webber, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Sondheim. You know, brilliant works that have stood the test of time, but at the end of them, you walked away knowing that there was the world of the play and your world, and that there was a clear separation between the two. However, when I saw The Full Monty, that line, as I knew it, became blurred. I mean, if you've seen the show or if you've seen the movie, you know it's about real people facing real obstacles and overcoming those obstacles to become versions of themselves that nobody, especially not themselves, ever thought they would become. And the levels of vulnerability to which they expose themselves, no pun intended, in doing so, completely rocked teenage me to my core. It was 2 hours and 45 minutes of unadulterated humanity, and it completely changed my perception of what theater could be. I had never seen anything like it, and it changed the course of my life. So naturally, I knew I had to get involved with this production. I mean, the way I saw it, it was just going to be another challenge, another opportunity for me to push the capabilities of what I could accomplish as a performer. However, after getting cast as one of the guys who go all the way, I realized pretty quickly that this was not just another challenge. You know, obvious reasons aside, mainly because I was faced with the prospect of having to tell my coworkers that I was doing the show. Now, up to that point, my coworkers had seen me in 3 productions, one of which actually was disgraced here at Elmwood. But for all of those productions, I actually left something to the imagination, which is to say I left everything to the imagination. But like, what was I gonna do now? I mean, on the one hand, this show was incredibly important to me, and I wanted them to understand that. But then what if they didn't understand it in the way I wanted them to? What if they thought it was just a joke, and that I was a joke? And then what would that mean for my future at this company? I mean, if it were just me, I had no reservations about doing the show. But I was really scared of my truth getting misconstrued in the hands of people whom I thought I could trust. I've been there before, and if you have too, you know how much it sucks. Fortunately, I have one person within this group of coworkers with whom I'm particularly close, and so less than a week before the show opened, I divulged my secret to her. And to my surprise, she was totally down. But then I said, well, should I tell the others? She was like, yeah, it's tough, right? She thought for a second, and then she said, well, what are you afraid of? I said, oh, nothing much, just my reputation going down like the Hindenburg. To which she replied, well, I think at this point you should just own it. Okay? So my coworkers and I keep a little Google Hangout between us so we can chat with each other while we're working. So I just went to that Google chat and very nonchalantly dropped the details of the show in there. And even though nobody immediately scoffed at the idea, at least that I saw, I didn't get a firm commitment from anyone. So I thought, okay, that's how it was going to be. Fast forward to the closing matinee of The Full Monty. We are on stage for the finale. We are shaking our bits, shaking our bonds, flinging articles of clothing to every corner of Bergen County, and right when I am down to my boxers, there they are. 6 of my coworkers, smack dab in the middle of house right. Now, here we are, we're moments away from the big coup d'etat of like the whole show, and my eyes have to lock with the people who see me as predominantly nothing more than just like the guy who sits at the cubicle next to them and sends out the emails. I mean, obviously I can't backpedal here, but what am I gonna do? How am I gonna get through this? And right then, a memory rang out. 17-year-old me in my childhood bedroom, listening on my little iPod Nano, remember those? To the cast recording of the show I was performing at that time. Wishing, hoping, dreaming that someday I could be as cool and irreverent and badass as those guys I was listening to. They owned it. And I realized that 17-year-old Nick would have wanted 30-year-old Nick to own it too. So when reality snapped back, I knew just what I had to do. I looked out at that audience with my coworker's house right. I stretched my grin from one end of the stage to the other, and I lowered those boxers and I showed it off like a vintage red Camaro. My joy and my freedom knew absolutely no bounds. I was like the high school quarterback in the state championship game. I felt like a star. And so much of that was because I had the courage to show that audience and my coworkers exactly who I was. The transparent, unapologetic, white-hot grease fire of sheer catharsis. Nick Nappo. I left the theater that day with so much warmth, hugs, kisses, and questions about why I didn't let them know sooner that I was doing the show. When I went back to work the next day, my manager, who didn't end up making the performance, said, "Nick, the next time you're doing a show, I need you to look me in the eye and tell me when it is, and I will be there." In my adult years, I've come to learn that people gravitate towards authenticity. I feel like so many people spend their lives hiding so much of their true selves that if and when the time comes to show who they really are, there's not much there to show if they want to. My life is too short to suffocate my flame. I need to find its fuel and keep it on there in a steady pour. And I'm not worried if not everyone shows up, because the right people will. Some already have. That's why I relax. I have fun. I take every last inhibition I have and let it go.